I did not realize how big this stack was. Whew. Hi guys, welcome back to today's video. I'm Rachel. I'm going to give you guys my 26 books in 2026 that I want to read. All of these are going to be on my physical TBR because I am really trying to work on getting my TBR, my physical TBR down. I'm gonna start off with what I'm hoping to knock out, like in order-ish. These aren't gonna be exact order, so you're gonna have to watch my monthly videos to see what books I read what months, but these are not gonna be all the books that I read next year. These are just gonna be quite a few of them. Starting off, we have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez, and I know this book came out last year, 2025, but I just never got around to it. I did get the book, but I just didn't get to it, so hopefully I'll be able to read this one at the beginning of this year. And then my copy has Everything Starts With You and Ends With You on the inside pages. I believe this is like a long distance romance. I'm very interested in how they make this work, coming from our own long distance relationship that we once had. So I'm pretty interested in seeing how this one goes. But I have read Abby Jimenez in the past, and I really, really loved her work. Just for the Summer was amazing. That is one of my favorite all-time reads. It's one of the books that did get me back into reading once I got out of college, so yeah. And then this was also something that came out last year, and I'm hoping to read it sometime in January or February, but it is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I think I'm saying that right. But it seems to be a romance over the radio. Oh, so it's like a romance hotline that starts it. He's the radio host for this romance hotline, and she gets wrapped up in it somehow. So I have heard a lot of good things about this one, so I'm pretty excited for this one. I will probably tab the crap out of this one if it's as good as everybody's been saying it is. So, and then I've also heard really good things about this one as well. This one is called The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payton Smith. I think this one is where she's competing to marry the prince, I believe, and she has to make some sort of bargain with the mother or something like that. But I believe it's set in like a fairy world, some sort of fantasy world like that. I've heard really good things about this one, so I'm hoping that that will stay true, but we shall see, because it looks like it's a quick read, like it shouldn't take too long. I did not realize how big this stack was. Whew. And then at some point this year, I want to read them all back to back to back to back. So that way it's all up here and I don't forget about parts. I want to read the Throne of Glass series. I have the whole series and I want to tab them up. I want to annotate the crap out of them because I plan on keeping them for a while. My plan is at some point to read all of these. I did read these years ago, back in like 8th grade or something like that, and they were really good. I remember a couple of the characters' names, but I don't remember anything that happened. So, I remember that Rowan can turn into a bird, a hawk or something like that. I'm excited to reread that series, especially if Sarah J. Maas has a new one coming out next year. That might be ACOTAR, might not be, but I'm excited to jump back into the Sarah J. Maas world for her possibly upcoming book, if we get one next year. And then for one of my historical fiction books that I want to read next year, Kristin Hannah is my go-to, and The Women is one of the books that of hers that I want to get to in 2026. I've heard pretty good things about this one, not a whole lot. I have read Kristin Hannah in the past. I've read The Great Alone and The Four Winds, and I didn't finish The Night Road. I have enjoyed her books in the past, so I'm hoping that this one holds up to the previous books that I've read from her. So we shall see about that one. And then I believe there might be more eventually, but as of right now, I believe there's only these two in the series. One was just released last year, and I think the first one was just a year or two before then. But I want to read A Fate in Inked in Blood series by Danielle L. Jensen. I want to read this series. I've heard that it's like the show Vikings, like the blonde girl, I forget her name, but I've heard that it's kind of something like that. If you enjoy that show, you might enjoy these books. So I really enjoyed watching Vikings. I'm really hoping that these are just as good. I think it's like a forced marriage problem or a forced marriage trope. We shall see. Probably at some point in April, maybe March, something like that. I do want to read Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I know that I have another one of hers in here, but I'm also excited to get to this one. I've read Abby Jimenez in the past and she has not let me down. So I'm hoping that this one is also really good. And then if you have been following my Bookstagram, Mel Spouse Reads Bookstagram, then you know that I've read Lights Out and I really, really, really liked it. So I am going to be reading Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. I am hoping to read this before the third one comes out in March. I am hoping that it holds up to as good as the first one. We'll see. But the first one is kind of like haha funny, stalker, rom-com, a little bit spicy, kind of romance book. But I think these are interconnected standalones. I don't think you have to read the first one in order to read this one. And then the third one is Game On. It comes out in March, I believe, and it's green. So I am hoping to get that one and also read that one, but I want to read this one first. And then I've heard really sad things about this one. I've heard really sad ones. I've heard some people have DNF'd it because it's just sad and it just wasn't good, but I've also heard really good things about this book, and that's The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros, our queen. This has kind of like a military family kind of aspect to it. Being a military family, I get that. So apparently his friend has a sister, a little sister, and she has a bunch of kids and she kind of needs help, and he ends up dying, and that's his final wish, is for his friend to go help his little sister with her kids and like all of that. So I'm hoping that he kind of falls in love with her. I don't know. I haven't read it. When I feel like crying, I guess I'll read this. And for my second Kristin Hannah book that I want to get to this year, I want to read The Homefront. This also, I've heard, this is also a military family book, trope, whatever aspect. But I think it's the wife that's in the military and she gets deployed. And I think the husband is left at home to take care of their two girls, and their 12-year-old their 12-year-old marriage is kind of like in shambles, and then she's sent away on deployment. So that makes things 10 times harder, but trying to piece back their family through all this chaos of her being on a sketchy deployment in a very horrible, like, scary place, and him being at home worried about her but also taking care of the girls and his job and trying to make sure their marriage doesn't fall apart kind of thing. So I could probably relate to a lot of things in here except for taking care of kids because I don't have kids myself, but I'm interested in seeing how much I can relate to this one, being a military family of our own. I think this will be pretty interesting. Then at some point I would like to get to this series. This is not the complete series, but I think they are on Kindle Unlimited. But I do want to get to The Serpent and the Wings of Night series by Chris Broadbent. I have heard good things about this series. I am hoping to read them back to back to back, just like the Throne of Glass series, so that way I can keep it all up here. But I will probably take a bit of time between the series just to have a break so I can read some of my historical fictions or my rom-coms in between, because big fantasy worlds take a lot. I think this is vampires, humans and vampires, I believe. Yeah. So I believe this is like humans and vampires kind of world. And for my summer books that I am hoping to read, I wanted to get to them last year, but I didn't end up doing it. We were moving from our apartment into our house that we have now, and it was just a crazy time. So I'm hoping to get to Every Summer After and One Gone Summer by Carly Fortune. I've heard great things about both of these, so I'm interested in seeing how they do because I grew up on a lake with a lake house, so I am hoping for similar vibes. I think these might be decently quick reads. I'll probably read these also back to back. I don't really like to skip around in series, like read one book and read it a couple different other books and then jump back into a series. I typically like to just keep in the series so that way I stay within the series and I keep everything fresh. So I do know that there's others, but I think these are all interconnected standalones, so I think I'm just gonna read these, and if they're good, maybe I'll get the other ones, but if not, I'll probably just stick with these then. And then the second one of this one recently came out. I'm probably gonna wait for it in paperback because that's what I have this one in, and I typically like to have either all paperback or all hardback. But that is The Will of the Many by James Islington. I think that's how you say it. She's thick. She's thick, guys. She's got something to say, but she's floppy. So I will probably tab the crap out of this one. Sarah Caroli read this in 2025 and things that she had to say about it, and what I've seen other booktubers say about it have been all good things, so I'm really hoping it lives up to its name and to its reputation. If this is good, I'll probably read the second one as well. I think it's been a couple years since he's released this one, so I'm expecting the second one to be just as good as this one. We shall see. And for our final two books, Quicksilver was amazing. As you can see, I have the indie and the traditional published book of it, but I am going to be reading Brimstone pretty soon, hopefully sometime in January, February. I really, really, really loved Quicksilver. That was one of my 5 stars reads of the year of 2025. And I am excited to start Brimstone. I've heard varying things about it. I've heard that there's like spelling errors and grammatical errors, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, if I can understand what it's trying to get across, what a sentence is trying to say, then who cares? Who cares? Because just needs to be refined. That's it. Like, the story and if the story in itself is good, then I'm gonna love it. So I have this high on my list for books that I want to read this year, so I'll probably have it done pretty soon. Keep watching my videos to see how I like this one. Okay guys, I have waited almost a whole year for this book. I didn't read it when it first came out because I was busy reading other books and I just didn't get around to it. But I've waited an entire year to read this book. So this one's gonna probably be one of my first reads of 2026. But that is Bonds of Hercules by Jasmine Mast. But this edition is so pretty with the painted edges, sprayed edges, and then the inside artwork is so pretty. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. These two will probably be some of my first reads of 2026. Well, you guys, that is all for today's video. If you enjoyed this one, please stay tuned for the next ones. I will see you guys later. Bye.